There we go. You should have gotten that notification. So welcome everyone to the first of our PLS series of 2024. Welcome. Thank you for being here this evening. For some of it's very late, so we appreciate your time. And we want to start by recognizing that the Professional Learning Series has a new name. At the end of last year, the executive board decided to name the Professional Learning Series in honor of Dr. Elisabeth Webb, who I believe is with us today as well, for all of her contributions in the state of Georgia for multilingual learners. And so thank you, Dr. Webb, and welcome to the first official Dr. Elisabeth Webb Professional Learning Series.
Thrilled to have this great start for this series, and just so honored to have it named for me. I'm still very humbled and a little bit overcome by that. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Webb. A couple of other things we just wanted to mention about how this works. We do have our overarching theme of disciplinary language and literacy communities of practice. So really looking at what supporting ESOL and multilingual learners can look like in a variety of spaces. So we do different talks twice a month. And then if you notice, our professional learning falls within different areas. We kind of have these tracks at our conference and in other things that we do. Teaching and learning, administration, adult education and community engagement, and then higher education and research. And so anytime you see one of the professional learning series advertisements, you can check the bottom corner and it will tell you what track it belongs to, just so you can have an idea of which ones are most relevant to you and attend accordingly. So please look out for that information. And then of course, stay tuned for our Georgia TESOL socials coming up in May. Up next, I want to go ahead and introduce our honored guest speaker of the evening. Allesandra Elisabeth dos Santos is a PhD candidate from the Federal University of Sergipe, Brazil. Her research focuses on generative artificial intelligence and its impact on the concept of writing. She was a visiting research scholar in the School of Education at Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, Virginia. She holds a master's degree in education from UFS and a postbac diploma in education from the University of Winnipeg, Canada. She has 27 years of teaching experience in the field of TESOL or TEFL and has also taught college students. Allesandra was a teacher, educator, and academic coordinator for 10 years in an elementary and middle years bilingual school in Brazil. Currently, she holds a CAPES scholarship and is an affiliate of the Multilingual Learners in Schools at VCU and Technologies, Education, and Linguistics at UFS research groups. So welcome, Allesandra.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, everyone. Such a pleasure to be here. Thanks for this beautiful introduction. I feel very honored, and congratulations, Dr. Elisabeth Webb. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm sure it's like a great recognition of your work and contribution. Ben and I, am I allowed to? Yes, I'm allowed to share. Okay, great. All right. So let me just start sharing here. Are you all seeing my? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Good. So let me just open here the start sharing, because I think it's going to be better. Yes. Okay, there. Yes.
We're seeing your presenter view. Is that what you mean?
No, I think it would be better the other view, right? I don't know why it's. I have the Canva ready here as well. It's just sometimes like with connections, it's it just doesn't. It can just, I don't know, just pause or something. So then I'll go here. Better this way?
There you go. That's pretty good. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. My end.
All right. So that's the title I'm like bringing tonight. I mean, for me, it's tonight. It's 11:30 p.m. here. So optimizing AI text generators for multilingual multilingual learners, the art of crafting effective prompts. And it was like thought, you know, very carefully, like this title, I mean, because after like what has been happening, you know, what has been happening after like the launch of ChatGPT, we even have like a new profession that is called prompt engineer. And so people have been selling, you know, online lots of things like ebooks for how to, you know, write books. So the prompts ready for you, made and ready for you to write ebooks, sell and make money right away. So things have been, you know, like a magic. It sounds like a magic. And as an English teacher for like the, you know, more than 25 years, we all know that technology is something that impacts a lot not our society, of course, yeah, but also like the way we work, like approaches, methodologies. So it is something that like it's relevant for educators, for teachers to think about and understand the context of this kind of technology, because we are not going back anymore. It's something that is out of our control as educators, totally. And I don't feel the need to like seeing it as like having as a control. So anyway, so this, by the way, this image was generated by my prompts, created by my prompts, along with an image generator, an AI image generator called DALL-E 3. So which is the most advanced now by OpenAI. And yeah, it's obviously this kind of image for you to have. You have to have like some interactions with the platform, and because you might have lots of problems with the images. Okay, what I have in my agenda here is like reflect a little bit about like generative AI in the society. It's interesting, like when I started presenting about AI and the impact on writing, which is like my topic, my theme in my thesis, of my dissertation. We first started talking about artificial intelligence because I started my PhD in September 2020. So we didn't have the term generative AI at the time. And then I started presenting things, and then it was like the impact of AI, trying to make people think about and remember that artificial intelligence technologies were already part of our society, of our daily base activities, and we were not like sometimes aware of that. And why I consider this important, why I think it's relevant for us to keep like remembering this, you know, reminding ourselves about the fact that AI technologies are here with us in our phones. Why is it important? Because we have this thing with the AI that is more like science fiction. And we know that like through the history of humanity, this impact that we have with new technologies, you know, has this idea of like enchantment versus fear. So this is why I included this there, so as for us to reflect a little bit. And I have already like said a few things. So the second topic is like talk a little bit about ChatGPT, specifically in AI text generator. And then the focus more here is like exploring some applications. And obviously we have to consider ethics and implications for this kind of technology. And then a very brief conclusion. I have already started talking about this, like we started reflecting a bit about generative AI in our society. And it's interesting to remember, like in these images we can see, like Netflix has been using algorithms of recommendation. And then we have been like every single Netflix cover is different. Like mine is different from Ben's, was different from Karen, because it has to do with like our interests. So the algorithms work personalizing our interests. Other things like Uber, we know they have to know like where you are. They get lots of information about us. Alexa, we have like the facial recognition that has been causing so many discussions in many countries. Because it's when you have this, like you being read, and then most of your information like is there, you know, like it access to any government or any, I don't know, company or department. So it is something that we have to be aware. That's why like regulations, like having those regulations is essential, but it's not easy. It's going to take a long time. And we have like this last image here with the smartphone and then a conversation. When you remember, we remember like typing a conversation, like a message, and seeing the words coming. Even before ChatGPT was released, this was already generative artificial intelligence. But we didn't have like of course, it was nothing compared to this technology now, but it was already a prediction of the next word, which is what an AI text generator, how it works. So generative AI is actually the kind of technology that generates, we know, generates different contents like AI, like codes, computer codes, images, music, audio, video. The new ChatGPT, I mean, the most advanced one already has multimodal strategies. I mean, capabilities. Yeah, the GPT-4. If you are, for example, if you are paying OpenAI to access ChatGPT, you have access to GPT-4, you have access to DALL-E 3, and in GPT-4, you can actually talk. You send an audio message, you ask for something, you don't have to type. If you don't want, you can send an image, and then the chat is going to read your image. So, and then we have obviously what we're talking today, which is like an AI text generator. And that what I said before, like this image is just to represent this, you know, like this extreme reactions that we normally have when we are like facing a new technology. And that's what happened, yeah, a lot, like in the end of 2022. I was in Virginia at the time, and I remember talking to my advisor in Brazil, asking like, Paulo, what's going on over there? Because of course we see things online, we see things on TV, but like I wanted him to tell me like what was going on at the university or talking to people. And then it's like everyone was like scared, and it was the same reactions that I was having from friends or people or colleagues in the US. So we know that this impacted, it has been impacting like various, you know, scenarios, I mean, areas of our society, not only education, and the only here is like big quotes, but like politics, right? So this is like a recent news. It was like mid 2023, and these two professors, I can't remember like exactly the universities, but these two professors were discussing like the fear and like the concerns that they were having about like what the capabilities of this kind of generative technology has. And in this case, like concerns related to the image generators, because we have already seen like those fake images. It was like the Pope with the puffy jacket, images with the ex-president, the US ex-president Donald Trump being arrested, and it was like fake images. So they were like discussing and concerned, for example, because with GPT-4, you can actually like fake voices, yeah? And the facial expressions of people, you can have like I'm here and I can have someone like saying something else, but with my face on it. So these are like like the concerns are like real, serious for like the next US elections, presidential elections, I mean. And we remember, yeah, like how the largest educational department in the US like reacted. Yeah, the New York Education Department like right away blocks, and this news was on January 3rd. So ChatGPT was released on November 30th, 2022. So like a month and a few days. This was the reaction. Like I remember reading lots of other schools like waiting for like what's going to happen, like just to see. It was more like a like an effect, you know, like to see, okay, let's see what's going to happen, and then I'll follow, because everyone was scared. Like schools, institutions were thinking like teachers were being interviewed, the college essay is there, the end of high school English. So people concerned about plagiarism, concerned about like what's going to happen to the assessment in language, for example, that we have like texts sometimes that are being assigned to teach to students. So all these like concerns are real, because we know how I mean, the challenge that we have when we are writing. We know writing is not something that is like as, let's say, natural, if I can say this way, as speaking. Yeah, writing is something that we have to make an effort, and then in all areas, in all levels, I mean. So there are lots of like, it's a complex activity, and not only cognitively speaking, but emotionally speaking. We tend to feel like, you know, the writer's block. Yeah, the writer's block is something that everyone has experienced. So it is like, this is an image that represents like me. I believe most of us has experienced something like this at least once in our lives. And so we see that there is this transformative role of AI text generators, in language learning. And this has been like changing like how we see, yeah, the writing, like the concept of writing. So just focusing here, this is where generative AI is now thinking about. Like AI is a big area. AI is not a technology, but it's an area of knowledge. And in this area, you have machine learning, deep learning. Inside deep learning, we have the generative AI area, and we have specifically types of generators. Yeah, the focus here is on AI text generator, and specifically ChatGPT. We know we have others. So why is it so important? It's very important because it's extremely important because it called everyone's attention. Like it was a technology that actually reached 1 million users in 5 days. So it's very, very impressive compared to Netflix, for example, that I was talking about before. It took Netflix 3.5 years to reach 1 million users. So it's very, very scary. In 2 months, ChatGPT reached 100 million users, and it took Netflix 10 years to reach this number of users. So it's something that we cannot ignore. Yeah, we actually have to think about it, study, share ideas, discuss. It's relevant. GPT, just as a review, you probably have like are more like familiar with this already. So generative is just this idea of generating content, new content. P from pre-trained, so like it's a technology that was trained before, lots of investment. It's something that takes a long time. Things from the internet, data from the internet, books, and the T has to do with how the algorithms work. It has to do with the architecture. And this was one of the last updates of ChatGPT, as I was mentioning before. It was September 25th, 2023. So they announced ChatGPT can now see, hear, and speak. So if you have access to GPT-4, you know you have used this already. So it's very impressive. You can actually like upload a PDF of a text. You can send pictures of like books, pages, and then you ask the platform to analyze. So it's something that is pretty impressive. So the prompt, thinking about the applications now, the prompt is something that became, let's say, a way for people to make money. It became like it created a new profession. This a picture that I have here was I took it from I took a screenshot from OpenAI page site, and this is them like talking after GPT-4. They decided like to organize this, and they give here some strategies for getting better results. If we go there and check, they are like they are sometimes, let's say, some of them are specific, I'd say, interesting ones. Others are more general, but at least they try to give like users an idea. What I think here is like I criticize a little bit is because they just say in the first paragraph that these strategies are more for GPT-4. So most people have access to the free version, yeah, the GPT 3.5. And I really think that if you get some of the ideas and use for the free platform, it's okay. It's not like do this way and it doesn't work the other way. It's just like, let's say, a very open guideline. It's not actually a guideline. It's just some ideas. So some of the applications that we know already, and that has like actually impressed many of us, specifically like educators and institutions, the higher ed education, all kinds of like educational levels. I'm just listing few of them here. Yeah, we know we have like many things we can do, but actually it actually impressed us with like the translation of languages. Like I think you saw me putting like some a QR code of a text, and there is one text that I am using here as a reference, and I just like brought here this is the only one that is just in Portuguese, but because of this kind of technology, it's not like a barrier. Yeah, we can actually, like, if we're interested in the text, we can like have this technology translating to us. If you have access to GPT-4, you can just put the PDF and it's going to like translate. Or if you are patient enough, copy, paste, and then see, just to give you an idea of the text. But then other abilities, generate, complete, classify text. How does it work? It goes with like the probability of the next word, but it works in a way that is so fast and with so much, let's say, training and self-learning that is actually able to write various types of text, as we know. So carry out conversations, because it is a chatbot, yeah. So it has this conversational side of it in in diverse genres. It can create podcast outlines, compose some lyrics, write blogged posts, advertisements, video scripts, create entire lesson plans. Very important for teachers. Give individualized feedback on students' writing. I don't know how about you, but like I've tested this, not with students of mine, but like a professor, a colleague of mine actually worked with me, and she had some writing pieces of students, and then she wanted written by students, and she wanted like to see, you know, to test. This one that is in bold, it's because I have it like as an example here in this article that was written by me, Dr. Lu, Larissa Lesova, and Chris Vicentin. So we actually have like an example of the creation of prompts that we can use to create podcasts, specifically for grade 9 students, and for them to interact with the chat. It's not for the teacher only. Okay, so I was just very concerned about the time. I was trying to like at least reach this point of the presentation in like 20-something minutes, so it's good. So what do I bring here to you to share with you today is a situation, a context in a grade 9 class. It's an ELA teacher who has assigned her students, they have to write a book review. And she told the students that there was this range of words, so 250 to 500 words. And the thing is like students were reading a book like for like some time. And after reading their books, she said, okay, you guys are gonna like try to convince other students, yeah, to read your book. So what's going to happen is like an activity, a moment after, where the other students will be able to read their classmates' book reviews and being or not being convinced, yeah, by this book review. So what happens is we have some reactions. Yeah, and some students reacted like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? I'm trying, I can't do anything. Other students are more like, okay. And we know that when we are thinking about a book review, the genre here is like, it's argue. Yeah, we have to justify, we have to convince, we have to have evidence for people to believe, okay, I'm recommending this book, you will choose mine after. Yeah, so that's the idea. So what happens to this first student here? This first student did something that is not recommended, is not ethical, because what he did was like write a review. He accessed their ChatGPT, GPT 3.5, because it's for free. Anyone can access it. And then he write a review about the book, and he wrote the title of his book. So this is not what we want. Yeah. Can you like avoid this from happening? No. What I believe is that with this kind of technology, just like with other technology that we had previously, that maybe like scared people, scared the society, scared educators, is actually like bring, use it, share with the students, discuss possibilities of use, because I don't believe that you can kind of like control. One thing that I observed that made people think a lot about this and got very worried is the assessment piece. Yeah, like let's say we have various types of assessment, but if you go for something that is more like instead of like working more with like reasoning, maybe if we are working with something that the student can just like get the information and copy there. So I saw lots of teachers, professors asking questions. Sometimes when I was participating or I was presenting, we were just like lots of groups, and when I was interacting, I heard many people worried about this, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to assess my students? And this is something serious, yeah, because the writing is something that is used a lot as an assessment piece. A writing piece is used a lot as an assessment tool. So that's what this student did. It's not recommended. This is not the point here. The other student decided to start and think about a different prompt. So she just said, like, how can I write a book review? That's the prompt she wanted, she used. And let's see the output, yeah, the response that she had from ChatGPT. So at first, like, the platform just made comments. What am I using? I forgot to mention, why am I using ChatGPT 3.5? I have access to 4, but I'm using this one because I don't know if everyone, which platform everyone is using. This is something that's like all the students can do. So that's why I was working on the presentation with 3.5. So first overall comments, and then it comes here with, here's a step-by-step guide on how to write an effective book review. So let's take a look. I remember there were 12 steps, but the first step is read the book. And from the beginning to end, take notes, but the student has already read the book. I don't know if it was carefully, if the student took notes or not, but yeah. Second one, understand the book's genre and purpose. So yeah, very interesting for students to think about, like, if it's like to inform, persuade, entertain, provide basic book information. So interesting. Begin your review with essential details about the book, such as the title. So it guides the student, yeah, more for the writing. Summarize the plot or content. So write a brief summary of the book's plot or main content, and then it gives more details, like things for the students to avoid that is very important in a book review, which is like avoid giving away major spoilers. So interesting points are being said here. And then it goes like, share your personal reaction, consider the characters, evaluate the writing style. So it goes like in a way that is, you have guidance there. I see as more complicated for a grade 9 student and for maybe other levels to follow, maybe confusing. It's pretty long, but it's there. Yeah, in the end, it goes and gives like gives comments about like the title, write a catchy title, proofread, edit. So it goes. It even gives like a suggestion, a recommendation. Share your review on Amazon, on a personal blog. So it's quite interesting. Okay. What is the purpose here of this? The objective of my presentation here? It's to explore the crucial role of prompt creation, yeah? And the idea is like exploiting the potential of this platform as a scaffolding strategy for writing. Again, because we know writing is not something easy, yeah? It's we have to make an effort when we are writing. So it is important to have various strategies. And look at this prompt here. Completely different from the first 2 prompts, right? I mean, the first one I'm not even going to consider here, but the second one, the child, the teenager just wrote like, how can I write a book review? And then here we have a student who writes, I am a 14-year-old student in the US. I'm grade 9. I need to write a book review that ranges from 250 to 500 words. This was a piece of information given by the teacher, yeah? My target audience is my classmates, grade 9 students too. This is part of my ELA class. My book review needs arguments that justify reading the book I've chosen. Suggest, let me put here, suggest the plan of a book review with strategies. I don't know if you can read. Let me just, I can't read here. Okay. I don't know if you can read the last part. I cannot. I'm going to try to go back here. Or yeah. Just okay. So, so suggest the plan of a book review with strategies to convince my classmates to read the book. And then we have the question here: how did the student come up with this prompt? Yeah, it's a much more elaborate prompt. It gives important information, and here's is my suggestion with. It was like a prompt. Is how you can like write a prompt. This was adapted from a book chapter written by me, my advisor, Professor Paulo Boassorte, and my supervisor at VCU, Dr. Luciana de Oliveira. And then what is the idea? What is the structure of this prompt here? When we first wrote this book chapter, yeah, and then I was organizing a specific section there, which was about the thinking of the prompt. The suggestion here is think about three main aspects in a prompt. The author, so who is writing the prompt, the request, what are the main characteristics of the prompt, and the purpose. What is the prompt for? And then the other part that you have after, like you can, obviously you can like add one more purpose, it doesn't have to be two. You can have only one purpose depending on what your intentions, I mean, what you want from this prompt. But you can have like some ideas that will guide you. For example, thinking about the author, how am I going to introduce myself? So I'm not saying like to give sensitive information, yeah, about yourself. I mean, personal information about yourself on a platform like that. It's not recommended. But like in this case, for example, in general, you would think about the profession of the author. In this case, it's like a student. So the age of the student, grade school, location, because depending on the country, maybe there will be like different suggestions. Then we have a request. The main characteristics here would be design, the target audience, and the theme. And what you have like in those shapes there, these were the things that will vary depending on what you want. Okay, this was an example it's not the example from the book chapter. There are other examples that we can have, that we can use, but this one specifically was thinking about this grade 9 student. The genre is argue. It's a book review. How am I going to help my student think about and have this platform as a scaffolding strategy? I don't want the student to copy and have like the platform generating like the first student tried to do. It is like structuring, organizing the book review. So I have here design. It's a book review, number of words, 250 to 500 words, target audience, grade 9 students, theme, the content area, ELA, the topic, arguments that justify reading the book I've chosen. And this like the teacher can help, yeah, in this context we are working now. And I'm just bringing two purposes, but we can have more depending on what you want. So purpose number one, what is this prompt for? Oh, it's to plan a book review. It is the number 2, to think about strategies to convince my classmates to read my book. So that's how that's how that student came up with that kind of prompt, okay? So I'm putting the prompt here again, and just like for you all to understand like better, so highlighting with the colors I think it's going to make it easier. So author, first piece of information, background there. So I have the student, I have the age, the location, the grade, request. So the main characteristics, I have the design. I forgot to put the other ones in bold. So a book review, like the number of words, my target audience, grade 9 students, the theme, it's the book review, in fact, and then the ELA class. What else? Purpose, I have there written, yeah? I mean, the theme is like the arguments that justify reading the book. And then the other 2 purposes, like to plan the book review, and I need to convince my classmates. So that's how the student came up with this book, this prompt. And we are just going to take a look at what the platform generated as an output. At first, a comment, and then it goes with like the structure of the book review. What we clearly see here is like, it's a little bit more objective. It guides the student a little bit more. It can help the student actually start planning their book review, actually writing and thinking about each piece of information I need to include, the range of words so I don't get confused. So it goes here, introduction, begin with a brief introduction to the book you're reviewing, including title, author, and genre. And then it goes, provide background information about the author, state your thesis, explain why your classmates should read this book. So straight to the point, 3 points there. The summary, giving an idea of the plot of the book. Again, bringing the important piece that is like avoid giving away major spoilers. We can't have spoilers in a book review. But then we have to have enough information to generate interest, yeah? And then it goes. Character analysis. So the next point here, discussing the main characters, explain why readers will relate to or be fascinated by these characters. So specific topics here. This is something that is not going to give like the students are not going to like have the platform use it. I'm not going to say that like we can always identify if the student is copying, but most of teachers, you know the students, you know, like this was not written by him or by her. Sometimes we can even see, oh, somebody helped, or maybe copied from somewhere. It's not because we have a generative AI now that this didn't happen before. We all know this, right? So bringing to the class, having as a strategy this way, I see is very valuable. So themes and messages, writing style and language. So, and this is not something, for example, that maybe it can be discussed with the teacher, or maybe the student can say, I won't write this, I'm going to skip. It's something that can be discussed. Emotional impact, share how the book made you feel, recommendation and closing. The middle one here says, use persuasive language to encourage them to pick it up. So specific, interesting, very specific topics, I mean, suggestions that are interesting for when we need to write a book review. In the conclusion, yeah, just bringing ideas to summarize and just leave as a lasting impression for the reader. At the end, some additional strategies that can be helpful to students, depending on like how, I mean, maybe some students need more details. So I think this is just like this brief list, 5 things that are more like number 5, being enthusiastic. Yeah, so just remembering like, okay, let's remember what it's important when you want to have to grab your readers' attention. So show this, yeah. So this was the idea of the application that I wanted to share with you. Prompts are are so powerful that we know that with prompts, this kind of platform can generate books. This was maybe you remember, but this was something that happened right after ChatGPT was released. This author here, Amr Rashi, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but he was just like interacting with ChatGPT at the time, GPT 3.5. And interacting with Midjourney, another AI image generator. And he wrote a book, a children's book. This caused so many discussions and problems in December, because you had like the ethical aspects and implications. He was selling this on Amazon. It's still there. I checked today. As you can see the date, I'm sorry, not the date. You can see that the book was announced there on a year ago. Yeah, January 14th, 2023, but the book is still there. I read before, I remember I had read before that the Amazon and other departments, I'm not sure which ones, recommended that he deleted ChatGPT as an author. But as you can see, it's back, because it's here, English edition, and you can see here his name, ChatGPT and Midjourney. So Midjourney as the illustrator, and ChatGPT as an author. So Alice and Sparkle, I didn't buy the book, but I had access to the book at the time. And well, you can read it, it can be read. Anyways, we know, like, just considering ethics and implications, we always have to remember like the limitations, all the incorrect information that we have. They call I mean, they also call like hallucination, yeah, because the platform can create things that are not true, they're not facts. So this is very, very serious. One of the things that they are very concerned, and this is OpenAI, this is there on their site, they don't hide. They say that one of the things here that they are very concerned about is the number 3. ChatGPT assumes interpretations, even if the posed questions sound ambiguous. At first, like it was difficult for me to understand what they wanted to say there. But then after like doing some research and watching videos at the time, the idea is like, even if I write something that is not clear, instead of like, most of the time, instead of like having, for example, an output saying, could you please rephrase? Their concern was like, most of the answers were just like having outputs, most of the prompts were having outputs, even if they were like, it didn't make sense, or if they were demonstrating what they say in number 4, like biased language in action. So they were very, very concerned about this. A hallucination, yeah, it's something that we've got to be very careful, because it does hallucinate. It does create a content that is that are not a fact, true. And again, like it's making like all areas of society very concerned with the possibility of disinformation, misinformation, especially like in moments, for example, of huge decisions, as we have like in a presidential election, for example. So just to conclude, generative AI emerges as a powerful ally, offering tailored support through customized prompts that guide learners in navigating these challenges. So I do believe it's possible to use this kind of platform as an ally, but we cannot be. I mean, we have to be critical thinkers and know how to use the platform and show the students the benefits and how to use in a way that is interesting and that is ethical, I'd say. So I would like to thank you for your attention, for listening, and feel free to make comments or ask questions. Okay, feel free. I'm here. Thank you so much.
So if anybody has any questions for our wonderful speaker, you're welcome to unmute and ask them, or there is some conversation happening in the chat. Feel free to message in the chat. And then if there aren't any questions, sorry, I'm reading in the chat. Anybody have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I just do think that this is such a complex debate, and I believe that the idea right now that's been put out there of showing, modeling, and engaging students and using this in a way that is helpful, but that is transparent and clear, will take us down a pathway of maybe getting to some answers. I think forbidding it entirely is probably not likely to get us to that. And so I'm really appreciative of, the analysis and the thought that's gone into, what could we do to get kids to use this in a way that scaffolds them in doing their own work without doing the work for them. That is the approach that our school district has been trying to encourage our schools to take, that it's got to be that students are going to use this, but they need to use it in a manner that is not replacing their own work, their own thinking, their own analysis. So I think that this is just opening up a really critical conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would agree with you, Elizabeth, and thank you so much, Beth, for your insights. The questions I have are more discussion questions, like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? But I think I really like the chart that you had about that outline, like what to ask, and the purposes and that kind of thing. And in my mind, I appreciate the author who cited Chat GPT. I mean, I think if we can be honest about where the information came from, we stand a fighting chance with this kind of technology. And I just really, it's a lot to take in. And I think, yeah, we have a lot of work to do in terms of understanding the technology more and the benefits of its uses. And as I've heard a couple of people's comment, it's going to change what we ask, the kind of questions we ask. We can't, as teachers, we can't give out the mundane assignments anymore because they can have Chat GPT or other technologies write it for them. So, we need to be rethinking the kinds of questions and the kind of tasks we're asking our students to do, so that it's not simply, let me have this piece of technology regurgitate what needs to, or fill in some blanks or whatever, but rather we can still get a sense of what of students thinking through the tasks that we assign them. So, but thank you so much. My mind is reeling right now.
Thank you, Karen.
I just want
And,
to say though that just because ChatGPT writes something for someone doesn't mean it's correct.
exactly.
You know, I think there's this, like I said in the chat box, there's an underlying assumption that ChatGPT knows it all. It is simply a large language model. So what I like to do is have my students actually interact with the model and have the conversation, argue with it. You know, you'll see it's very interesting because it won't argue back.
That's very interesting. And then, I think too, the point about the limitations that was made about, it's limited in current events and this and that and the other. And if you read that in the light of, and I think it was a New York Times article recently on the limitations of the data sets that are being used in generative AI. And there's some really disturbing and terrible content that is being pulled into generative AI. And I don't know if it's specifically in the content that was used for ChatGPT, but there's a lot. There are violent images and violent content and biased content and, extremist content that is that is included. And there's a lot of concern that those folks who are in charge of just the data sets, garbage in, garbage out. So, really, it would be interesting, Dr. Chiesa, to maybe think about what prompts you could put out there and see what you could elicit to just almost maybe uncover a little bit of that. I almost feel like we need to do a little bit of private detective work as educators to find out ways in which we can ping this content and have it, maybe it puts out something really heinous and we can say, well, look, this is the garbage this thing is producing, because we don't need our students to run into that without, somebody going in front and looking for it. We're so concerned about us not putting content in front of them that's inappropriate in the classrooms. And yet we've got these opportunities out there where they could have something, if they write a prompt that is not crafted well and with good intentions, well, who knows what they could run into. So it's very scary, but that's the internet in general, but even more scary with the AI.
Some very interesting thoughts and comments in the chat about the idea of safe in schools. Thank you for everyone who just participated in that conversation. Nice to end with a little bit of discussion. And just thank you again to our wonderful speaker. I think we're all leaving with a lot of food for thought. I definitely have things I want to think about how to integrate this into my classroom as well. So thank you for giving us so much food for thought.
Ben, I just didn't have time to read the comments while I was presenting because I just couldn't have access to it at the time. Margaret asked here, do you know what the quality of the translation is? It's excellent. I cannot say it's perfect, but from my experience and from many people that have been using, it's been very good. It's been very good. It's been calling attention, in fact. Yeah. I don't know if there are other questions here that I can answer. That reminds me of a pre-version of Claude AI. Depends on the language. The Asian languages are then to be more difficult compare. Yes, definitely. Yeah, good, very well said. Yeah. I mean, my experience is on languages English, Portuguese, Spanish, and Italian. These are the ones that I've been using, and then I have people making comments. My is for improvement. 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5 stars. I don't know what this is, David. You said here.
It was the review of the book.
Oh, the book.
3 out of 5 stars.
Oh, I hadn't noticed. Thanks for the comment. Something that I remember Dr. Karen said about the author of this book, and people have been discussing new concept of ownership. Yeah, in this context of so I've been working on the concept of writing, but I know there are other, and then it's connected to the concept of writing, this authorship too. So it's pretty complex.
I was just going to add one comment, Alessandra. My name is Rob Griffin, and what I've been interested in, and maybe it's out there, I haven't seen much in the literature about it, but is the acquisition question in terms of second language writing development. You know, is the pace of development going to be enhanced, or will we see the skills that really writing consists of, the brainstorming, the development, the outlining, or in this case, the prompting of information? The question has been right now, is it facilitating or is it replacing? And in fact, if it's replacing, then what happens to the whole acquisitional sort of framework when it comes to writing? And we've talked, you know, years ago, 20 years ago or 30 years ago, my dissertation was on the noticing hypothesis and language-related episodes. It's a different world now. And so it's going to be interesting to see how attention and noticing is going to be reshaped and the scaffolding with different inputs. And so I don't know. I just thought I would throw that out. Very informative. Thank you so much. But I'm interested to see more work being done in areas of acquisition and language acquisition to see how AI is going to impact that, particularly writing. Yeah.
Yeah. In my dissertation, like I've been focusing on. Oh, sorry, Ben.
I was just going to give you the last word. We're over time, so if you want to just say
Oh,
your
sorry.
thoughts, and then we're gonna end this. So you do get the last word, but it is the last word.
Okay, all right. No, so I'd like to thank you all for like being here. And Rob, I don't think, I mean, it's difficult to say this, but like I'm studying about a new concept of writing because of this context. And then I think this is going to impact like how we assess, how we learn, how we teach writing. But then I think it also has to do with like the concept of language that teacher has that impacts teaching and learning and all that we know. And I see writing as a social practice. So I don't think it can replace, honestly. But we could talk about this like forever, but we know like we can't. Yes, Ben.
Thank you very much. A lot of great information, and you're right. There are a lot more conversations to be had on this topic, so I'm looking forward to those. Thank you everyone for your time, and thank you for this information.
Thank you for the comments and for the questions. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Good night, everyone.